In this video, we're going to take a look at two other advanced features. The first one is going to be bucketing rows together or bucketing records, and the other is conditional formatting. So click Edit on your report, and let's talk about a bucket first. If you go to the column section and click the drop-down, you can add a bucket column. And what this lets you do is essentially group different values together that aren't exactly the same. So when you use the regular grouping functionality, so for example, group by opportunity owner, is going to create a group for every unique value. So if we've got Brian, Lauren, and Ben as opportunity owners, we'll have a Brian group, a Lauren group, and a Ben group. But it's possible that you actually want to have a little less detail in terms of your grouping. So let's say we've got a West Coast sales team and an East Coast sales team, but we don't have any data in Salesforce to represent that. We just know that that's how our company operates. And so instead of looking at opportunities by owner, I want to compare East Coast sales team to West Coast sales team. So what we can do is create buckets, and we can put, say, Lauren and Ben in the East Coast bucket, and then we'll put Brian in the West Coast bucket. And so then once you have those buckets, you can group by that. And now we're grouping by East Coast, West Coast, or whatever other grouping value you want. This is most often used with products because oftentimes people will want to look at a group of products together that might not be represented by just that product family. And with buckets, you've got lots of flexibility of how you want to combine these different values so that you can then group them. So when you hit Add Bucket Column, you can choose what field you want to generate the bucket from. And so let's go with amount as an example. And because this is, a number, instead of us being able to choose the values to put into a bucket, we can choose ranges. So we can say here, if the value of that opportunity is less than 100,000, let's call that a small deal. If it's greater than 100,000, we could say it's a big deal. But you can also add additional buckets here with the add button. So we'll have a medium deal right in the middle. And you got to give that bucket a name, which is going to be your column header name. So we'll call this deal size. And the last thing we need to do is see what's that range. So we'll say we'll do 100,000 to 200,000 is a medium deal, greater than 200,000 is a big deal. Hit apply, and we have this new column right there with a little bucket icon next to it. And it's calculating, is this a big deal, small deal, medium deal, etc. Now, you could use a row level formula to get to the same outcome. We could just use if-else statements or a case function to say, if the row is X, then output medium deal or big deal. But this is a lot easier, and it allows you to select the values that come in instead of having to write them all out or create that logic yourself. So buckets are really good if you want to group by something other than the exact data you have in the system. Take multiple values, put them into buckets, and then you can click that drop-down arrow and group rows or columns by this new column that you made. Let's talk about conditional formatting. So now that we have some groupings, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner, we have this conditional formatting option. You click on that. It looks very similar to bucketing, but we have colors. And so basically we're saying, depending on the value of that field, what color do we want to have displayed? And so this is working not at the row level, like our bucket, it's working at the summary level. So we're going to look at the sum of amount, and we'll say that each month we want to hit at least $250,000. So we'll say if something is less than 100,000, then it needs to be red. If it's 100,000 to 250,000, it'll be, our yellow sort of orange color here. And if it's greater than 250,000, we'll call that green. And you can change the colors as needed here, or even use a custom color. And then I'll hit done. And you can actually add additional conditional formatting rules if you want to. But I'm just going to create the one on the sum of amount, and I'll hit apply. And here you can see at those summary levels, we're not only seeing that subtotal by month, but we're also seeing the color. It just makes it a lot easier to understand if we hit our target or not for that month. I'm going to click Save and Run, and then we'll take a look at the data. Let's collapse detail rows. And here you can see our values that are now have some conditional formatting applied. We've got a different color depending on what that subtotal is. And this can be applied even to calculated formulas. So if we're looking at a growth rate and we've got a target, we want to grow 10% every single month, which would be great, or 10% year over year, something like that. Go ahead and calculate that through a conditional formatting rule. And it's really easy to see when you're on target or when you're not. So there's two extra advanced features to help you get a little bit more out of reports: bucketing and conditional formatting.